The night my stepmother's life fell apart. My twin sister stood on a chair at my dad's Christmas party, clinked a spoon against a crystal glass and yelled, "Stop! We have something to say." Every conversation in that fancy room died mid-sentence. Even the string quartet kind of stumbled to a halt. And I realized at 7 years old that either our plan was about to save our family or blow it up completely. Hey, I'm Zoe, one of the Thompson twins from Pinterest, Connecticut. And this is the story of how my sister and I exposed our stepmother in front of a house full of rich people, found out our mom wasn't missing at all, and dragged the truth into the light when every adult around us was happier believing a lie. If it were you, 7 years old, no one listening, your mom gone, how far would you go to prove something was wrong? To really understand that moment at the Christmas party, you have to go back 6 months to the day my world quietly cracked instead of exploded. My mom, Mary Thompson, disappeared. That was the word everyone used, disappeared, like she'd stepped off stage for a costume change and just forgot to come back. Dad told us she left a note, said she needed time to herself, and that we should give her space. Teachers whispered that we were the poor, abandoned family classmates, stared like we had a label on our backs. I hated that word, abandoned, like we were puppies left on the side of the road. One afternoon, I was sitting cross-legged on my bed, flipping through our family photo album, and Chloe, my twin, my complete opposite, same face, was beside me, her knee bouncing because she can never sit still. There was this picture of us from the Christmas before Mom. In the middle, her arms around us, all three of us in matching red sweaters, in front of the tree, her smile so bright it almost hurt to look at. Chloe stared at it, her blue eyes hard in a way I didn't usually see. Mommy would never leave without saying goodbye, she said, a voice sharp, like she was arguing with someone who wasn't in the room. She promised she would always be here for our birthday. I turned the page slowly, tracing the edge of the photo with my finger, feeling that weird tightness in my chest. Dad says she needed time to herself, I said, but even I could hear. I didn't believe it. It had been 6 months. 6 months of an empty seat at the table, 6 months of Dad getting home late and smelling like stress. 6 months of teachers doing that pity smile. Chloe hopped off the bed like she was powered by pure frustration. "We're not abandoned," she snapped. "Dad is still here." "Yeah," I said. Looking around our room at the quilts Mom had made for us at the crafts Chloe left everywhere, and the color-coded books on my shelves. But he's never really here. You know what I mean? When someone technically lives with you, but their brain is somewhere else all the time. Our house was one of those old East Coast houses that look like they should be in a movie. Long driveway, big staircase rooms that echo if you laugh too loud. Without Mom, it just felt cold, like a pretty museum where you're scared to touch anything. That afternoon, there was a knock on our door. Mrs. Jenkins, our housekeeper, leaned in. Her gray hair pulled back her face, as gentle as ever. "Girls, your father just called," she said. "He'll be home in 20 minutes, and he's bringing a guest for dinner." Chloe and I said it at the exact same time. Twin brain stuff, a guest, a lady friend, Mrs. Jenkins added carefully. "I've set the dining room table." When she closed the door, Chloe raised her eyebrows at me. "Lady friend means date, right?" I nodded slowly. "First impressions are important," I said automatically. Yeah, I was that kid. We changed into matching blue dresses, brushed our hair, even put on the little necklaces Mom had given us. By the time we sat at the long dining room table, I could hear Dad's voice in the foyer and a woman's laugh, high and light, like she practiced it. "Girls," Dad said, as he walked in, still in his suit tie. Loosened eyes tired. But trying to be cheerful, I want you to meet someone special. This is Serena Blackwood. Serena walked in behind him like the room belonged to her. Tall, dark hair, perfect makeup, cream-colored dress that screamed expensive, and a smile that showed every one of her white teeth. "Hello, darlings," she exclaimed. "Your father has told me so much about you. You must be Chloe and you're Zoe, right? What adorable little angels." Chloe and I did that twin glance thing, because even our own father mixed us up half the time. "How did you know which one is which?" Chloe asked, no filter at all. Serena laughed that bell-like laugh again. "Your father described you perfectly," she said smoothly, Chloe with the adventurous spirit, and Zoe with the thoughtful eyes. Dad beamed like he'd just won something. "Amazing, isn't she?" he said. And my stomach did this little twist I didn't understand yet. During dinner, I should have been focused on the food, the grown-up conversation, all that. But honestly, I was just watching her. She asked a lot of questions. About the house, about Dad's job at Morgan Stanley, about the value of certain paintings on the wall. Not in a curious tell me about your life, way more like she was taking inventory. And I noticed something that stuck with me when Dad turned his head. When he reached for his wine or checked his phone, her smile would fall off her face like someone flipped a switch, her eyes going flat and cold, and the second he looked back, boom. Perfect. Smile again. At one point, Chloe accidentally knocked over her water glass, and it spilled across the table toward Serena's plate. For just a split second, Serena's eyes flashed with pure anger. Then, just as fast, she slapped the sweet mask back on. "Don't worry, sweetie, accidents happen," she cooed, grabbing a napkin. We saw the crack, though. Kids pay attention to the things adults think they're hiding. If you were 7 and saw that switch in someone's face, angelic to vicious and back again, would you trust them? After dinner, Dad told us to head upstairs, said he'd be up later to say goodnight. We stopped halfway up the staircase where you could sit behind the railing and see into the living room. We'd learned how to be invisible in our own house. "They're beautiful girls, Robert," we heard Serena say, her voice lower now, less sugar. "They just need a woman's influence again. They seem a little undisciplined," Dad sighed. "Mary was always better with them than I am," he said. "I work so much, and since she left, well, they have me now," Serena cut in firm. "And I think we should discuss our future together." That word, our, made something in my chest tighten. Chloe's fingers found mine and squeezed, and I knew we were both thinking the same thing, even if we couldn't say it yet. This woman isn't here for us. She's here for him. Over the next 3 weeks, Serena was at the house constantly. She brought us little gifts, hair clips we'd never wear, books too babyish for us clothes, in styles that looked more like dolls than real kids. Every time Dad was around, she was almost perfect. Patient smiling, calling us darlings, touching his arm when she laughed. The second he left the room, her face went blank. Her voice went cold. She'd correct us on manners for way too long. Nitpick how we sat, how we spoke, how we breathed. Dad started packing up Mom's things. We found her jewelry box, favorite scarf, framed photos in a hallway drawer one day, just shoved in there. Chloe held up Mom's silver bracelet, the one she wore every day. "Why would he hide Mom's stuff?" she asked, hurt and angry. "Maybe Serena asked him to," I said. And later, I wrote that exact moment down in my journal date time. What we saw, what we heard. That became my thing. If no one was going to take my feelings seriously, maybe they'd take my facts. 3 weeks after that first dinner, Dad called us into the kitchen on a Saturday morning. Serena was there glowing, and Mrs. Jenkins was at the stove looking like she'd rather be anywhere else. "Girls, we have wonderful news," Dad said, his smile tight. Serena held up her left hand. The diamond on her finger was huge, catching the morning light and blinding us for a second. "Your father and I are getting married," she announced. "Isn't that exciting? I'm going to be your new mother." Chloe and I froze. My brain kind of fuzzed out. "But it's only been 3 weeks," I heard myself say. "When you know, you know," Dad said, sliding his arm around her. "We're thinking of a small ceremony next month." Serena bent down, hugging us both. While her arms were wrapped around us, and her perfume was in my nose, her voice dropped so low, only we could hear it. "Things are going to be very different around here, now that I'm in charge," she whispered. "Not part of the family. Not here to help. In charge, yeah." That happened. The wedding was at the Pinarest Country Club. Small, but flashy. Lots of people from Dad's job. Some of Serena's friends, with tight dresses and tighter smiles. Chloe and I wore scratchy pink dresses as flower girls, walking down the aisle while people whispered. 3 months after his wife disappears, "How tasteless," I heard one woman behind us say. I heard the wife ran off with her yoga instructor, left those poor identical girls behind. Another added, "Our mom didn't even do yoga." By the next day, Serena had officially moved in as Serena Thompson. Big moving trucks pulled up in the driveway, and men started carrying out furniture we'd grown up with. Mom's reading chair. Chloe cried as they hauled out the blue armchair where Mom used to sit and read to us. "Dad, they're taking Mom's chair." Dad looked uncomfortable, then put his arm around Serena like she was a shield. "Serena wants to make the house her own, sweetheart," he said. "It's only fair." Do you think that's fair, honestly? Erasing someone's existence so your new partner feels comfortable? Mrs. Jenkins found us in the living room later, watching workers take down family photos and replace them with giant portraits of Serena. "They're taking everything that reminds us of Mom," I said, tears running down my face. "I know, sweetie," she whispered, squeezing our shoulders. "I don't understand what your father is thinking." Then, in a low voice, "I saved some of your mother's things in my quarters. We can look at them together sometimes." That was the first time I realized not every adult was blind. The only place that still felt like ours was our bedroom. The quilts, the mismatched posters, Chloe's mess, my neat stacks of books. "At least we still have our room," Chloe said one night. "For now," I replied, scribbling in my journal. I heard Serena telling Dad she wants to redo these childish bedrooms. The rules came next. No talking at dinner unless an adult spoke to you first. No friends over without 2 days' notice. No going into the west wing of the house at all. No entering Serena's study or the master bedroom closet. Off limits like we were guests, not kids who lived there. When Dad was home, Serena enforced them with a sweet voice and fake patience. When he left, it was a different story. Chloe stopped running in the house. She snapped one morning, voice sharp, as my sister sprinted down the hallway. Then Dad stepped out of his office, and she turned, smile back on. "Darling, Chloe needs to be more careful. She almost knocked over that vase your boss gave you." "She's right, Chloe," Dad said, barely looking at us. "Please, be more careful." Later, when we tried to tell him Serena was mean when he wasn't around, he just shook his head. "She's trying to make this place feel like her home too," he said. "You girls need to give her a chance. She loves you." We knew she didn't, but he didn't want to see it. That's when I stopped just feeling things and started investigating. It really began the day Serena sat us down on the white living room sofa with a stack of glossy brochures. "I've been researching schools for you," she said. At all business handing us the papers. "These Swiss boarding schools accept students as young as 8. Your father and I think it would be best for your education. We like Pinarest Elementary," Chloe shot back. "Our friends are there. Your father travels so much, and I have my charity events." She went on like. Chloe hadn't spoken. "We simply don't have time to give you the attention you need. Dad would never send us away," I said. But a little doubt crept in, because lately Dad agreed with everything she said. Serena tilted her head, gave that small, smug smile. "Your father agrees with whatever I suggest, dear," she said softly. "You've noticed that, haven't you?" That night, Chloe and I spread a blank sheet of paper on the floor between our beds. I drew a line across it and wrote, "Mom disappears" at one end. We're going to write down everything that happened before she vanished, I said, even the stuff that felt small at the time. Mom on the phone a lot, checking the windows that fight in the driveway, all of it. Maybe something connects. Chloe closed her eyes, thinking. She kept looking out the windows that week. She said slowly, like she thought someone was watching the house, and she took a lot of phone calls, but she'd hang up when anyone came in the room. I wrote it all down, date, range, details. Remember when she was outside talking to that guy in the black car? Chloe added she looked mad, like really mad. The day before she disappeared, I said, writing fast, she hugged us extra long at bedtime and told us she loved us more than anything. That doesn't sound like somebody planning to abandon her family. The next part you already know a piece of, our break into Dad's office. The forged note, Mom's passport, sitting right there in the file cabinet. I compared the note to her birthday card handwriting, loop by loop, tale by tale, and I knew in my bones she hadn't written it. When we told Mrs. Jenkins, she didn't look surprised. "I never believed that note," she said softly. "Your mother told me the day before she disappeared that she was worried about something. She seemed scared. And I saw Serena meeting with a man in a black car several times before she started dating your father. The same man has been here when your father is at work." They whisper in her study. A few days later, in the laundry room, we found a second phone in Serena's coat, a small black one, not the fancy phone we always saw. I scrolled through the calls and saw one number over and over saved as M. We wrote the number down. 2 days after that, Serena announced my brother Marcus is coming for dinner tonight. He showed up at 7. Tall, same dark hair, same cold eyes. At dinner, he barely spoke to us, just leaned toward Serena when Dad left the table. "Everything proceeding on schedule," he murmured. "Perfect timing with Christmas coming," she answered. "You know how to reach me on the secure line." And just like that, it wasn't just a mean stepmom anymore. It was a plan, a schedule, a target. Then Dad announced that his company's big Christmas Eve party would be at our house this year. All his co-workers from Morgan Stanley, their families, the mayor, important people from town. For Serena, that party was like her Super Bowl, a chance to show off the renovations the new Thompson family. For us, it became our deadline. As the party got closer, the house turned into a construction zone of lights, flowers, silverware. Serena banned us from decorating like we used to do with Mom. "This event is too important for childish decorations," she said. "You'll greet guests, then go back to your room." But all those vendors, staff, decorators, they were covered too. More bodies meant more chaos, more chances to slip away. Then came the twist that changed everything. A snowstorm hit school, closed early, and we got home hours before Serena expected us. Mrs. Jenkins told us she was in her study and not to be disturbed. We walked past the study and heard her voice through the door, low and angry. "Yes, it's all proceeding as planned," she was saying. "Robert trusts me completely. The accounts will be transferred next week." Then a pause, footsteps, and she said the line that turned our world upside down. "The doctor from Pine Valley called Mary is starting to remember things. We need to make sure she never leaves that place. Once Robert is gone, I'll have power of attorney over all Thompson family matters. I can keep her sedated permanently. And the twins, the Swiss boarding school paperwork is ready. They'll be on a plane the day after Christmas." Chloe's nails dug into my arm. "Pine Valley. Sedated. Bury. Mom is alive," she whispered, eyes wide. "Right there. That's the moment the story flipped from maybe she killed our mom to they locked her away and made everyone think she abandoned us. If that was you hearing that your missing mom was in a psychiatric hospital under a fake name, what would you have done next? That night, while the house slept, we picked the lock on Serena's study. Like I told you, found the life insurance policy with Serena as the only beneficiary. The investment account notes the boarding school apps. We almost got caught, but slipped out. The next day, Serena accused us of breaking into her study and stealing jewelry. Dad grounded us, locked us in our room. And I remember thinking, we're running out of time, and the only person who can actually help doesn't trust us. Then came the master bedroom, the hidden panel in the closet, the metal box with Mom's phone, her ring, the USB drive. Seeing her face on that little screen, bruised, crying, terrified, whispering that if anything happened to her, Serena and Marcus were responsible, is burned into my brain. We copied the video to the USB with seconds of battery left. Serena found out we'd been in her room. Found the phone cornered us. "You saw the video, didn't you?" she said, her voice icy. "Your mother always was too smart for her own good. That's why she had to go away. She told us straight to our faces that after the Christmas party, our dad would have a tragic accident, and we'd be shipped off to Switzerland, where we couldn't cause trouble. She took everything from our room, every distraction, every toy, every book. She forgot the teddy bear. We cut it open at the seam, tucked the USB deep into the stuffing, sewed it shut with thread from a pillowcase. I remember my hands shaking, but not from fear anymore, from adrenaline, from purpose. The candy cane lockpicks were Chloe's idea, heated and bent in the bathroom sink, shaped into tools because Serena had confiscated every metal object she could think of. It took almost an hour the next morning to get our door open. When we finally cracked it, Marcus was at the end of the hall like a guard. We listened through the door as he and Serena talked. The doctor from Pine Valley called Marcus, said Mary is starting to remember things. We need to make sure she never leaves that place. I'll handle it after tonight. Serena replied, "But Robert is gone. I'll have power of attorney. I can keep her sedated permanently. The girls will be on the plane the day after Christmas. Mom alive in a psychiatric hospital. Dad marked for accident. Us shipped out of the country. Serena in charge of everything." That was the whole ugly plan in one conversation. We grabbed the walkie-talkies we'd hidden in the air vent months before and called Mrs. Jenkins. We're locked in. Marcus is guarding the hall. Mom is at somewhere called Pine Valley. "Psychiatric hospital, Serena is going to hurt Dad tonight," I said. Talking so fast I had to stop and breathe. We have a video on a USB drive, but no one believes us. Pine Valley Psychiatric Hospital is about 2 hours from here, she said slowly. "Girls, we are going to get you out. The party tonight is our chance. Serena will be busy. There will be police in the house, people who will listen." We worked out the plan in whispers. Mrs. Jenkins would drop a tray right near Marcus to pull him away. I would pick the lock with the candy cane from the inside. We'd run to the back stairs, hide in the coat closet. She would watch for Detective James Wilson, Dad's friend from the Pine Arrest Police Department, the guy who always came to the party in a red Christmas tie, and tell us when he arrived. Chloe's job was to cause chaos. Mine was to reach Wilson and get that USB into his hand. By late afternoon, the house was full of staff decorations. The smell of food. From our window, we watched cars pulling up guests in expensive coats, lights reflecting off the snow. My stomach hurt from nerves, but underneath all the fear, there was this weird calm, like we'd already decided who we were going to be, and now we just had to act it out. "Now," Mrs. Jenkins whispered through the walkie-talkie. At one point, I'm dropping the tray. We heard the crash, Marcus's annoyed shout staff scrambling. I popped the lock with the candy cane we slipped into the hall, and sure enough, he was turned away, helping pick up broken glass. We ran the other direction down the back stairs and into the dark coat closet. My heart was pounding so loud, I was sure someone would hear it. We waited there listening to the muffled sounds of the party. Music, laughs, clinking glasses, the front door opening and closing. Detective Wilson just arrived. Jenkins finally whispered red tie, and all he's with your father by the big tree. Remember, I told Chloe if anything goes wrong, we meet back here. Stick around because what happened next will blow your mind. Chloe slipped out and headed toward the kitchen, where she could cause the most trouble with the least suspicion. I stayed along the edges of the hallway, keeping my head down, moving toward the main hall. The house was transformed. Giant Christmas tree, glowing garlands everywhere, people in suits and sparkly dresses. I spotted the red tie near the tree. Detective Wilson. Tall, solid, talking with my dad. I started toward them, weaving through adults. I was maybe 6 steps away when a hand clamped around my shoulder. There you are, Marcus said with a fake smile. For anyone watching, your stepmother has been looking everywhere for you. You're supposed to be in bed. Let go. I hissed under my breath, trying to pull away. Not happening, he muttered, steering me toward the side hall. My brain did this fast calculation. If he got me out of the main room quietly, we were done. So I did something dramatic. I stopped walking, gasped loudly, and grabbed my chest. I can't breathe. I wheezed loud enough for people around us to hear my asthma. I can't. Heads turned. A woman nearby put down her drink and stepped closer. Is she all right? She asked. She's fine, Marcus said, clearly annoyed. Should someone call an ambulance? Another guest asked, backing up to give me space. The circle of people widened, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw the red tie turn toward us. At that exact moment, there was a loud crash from across the room. Chloe had accidentally bumped into a waiter carrying a tray of champagne glasses. They shattered all over the marble floor, champagne everywhere, people yelping and stepping back. In that chaos, Marcus's grip loosened just enough. I twisted away from him and bolted toward the tree. I almost made it. Serena appeared out of nowhere. Smile, tight eyes, furious. She grabbed my arm so hard it hurt. There you are, you little troublemaker, she said through her teeth. These girls should be in bed, not disrupting our lovely party. Dad finally was looking at us with real concern. What is going on? He asked. Robert. The girls were supposed to stay in their room, Serena said, flipping into her sweet tone. They've been misbehaving all week. You remember the stealing incident. Everything okay here? Detective Wilson asked. Stepping closer, eyes taking in all of it. My face. Serena's grip. Chloe hovering nearby. Dad's confusion. Detective Wilson. Please, we need to talk to you, I blurted in private. It's important. James. How nice to see you, Serena said loudly. The girls are just overtired. It's past their bedtime on Christmas Eve. They seem upset, he said calmly. And you could tell he wasn't brushing that off. Girls! This is not the time or place, Dad said, embarrassment creeping into his voice. Maybe we should step into your office, Robert Wilson suggested. Just for a minute. Clear this up without disrupting your party. Serena's smile twitched, but she couldn't exactly say no without looking bad, not in front of the detective, and half the room watching. So that's how we ended up in Dad's office. Me, Chloe. Dad, Detective Wilson. Serena, and eventually Marcus, with the door closed and the party sounds muted behind us. Dad exhaled hard. All right, he said. What is this about? My hands were shaking, but I reached into the hidden pocket I'd sewn inside my dress and pulled out the USB drive. It's about Mom. I said she didn't leave us. She didn't write that note, and she is not crazy. She's at Pine Valley Psychiatric Hospital under a fake name, and Serena and Marcus put her there so they could take your money. Serena scoffed. That is absurd, she said smoothly. Children have such active imaginations, especially when they're struggling with change. We found Mom's passport in your file cabinet, I said louder. If she left the country, why didn't she take it? We compared the goodbye note to her real handwriting. It doesn't match. We found a second phone in Serena's coat full of calls to Marcus. We broke into her study. Found your life insurance policy changed, so she's the only beneficiary. Found boarding school applications with her, listed as our guardian start date in January. And we found Mom's phone with this video on it. We copied it onto this. I held the USB out to Detective Wilson. Do you mind if I see what's on it? He asked Dad. This is ridiculous. Serena snapped Robert. You cannot seriously believe. It can't hurt to look, Dad said, but his voice was uneven. Wilson plugged the USB into the computer, clicked a few times. And then there she was. My mom's face filled the screen, bruised on one cheek, eyes red from crying, sitting somewhere in our house. If anything happens to me, Serena Blackwood is responsible, she whispered, horn shaking. She's been threatening me for weeks. She's working with her brother Marcus to take Robert's money. They drugged me once already. I think they're planning to make me disappear so she can marry Robert. I've hidden copies of everything I've found about their past scams. Look in the video cut off where the original had stopped. Dad stared at the screen. The color drained from his face. Mary, he whispered, reaching toward the monitor, like he could touch her. This is clearly a fake, Serena said quickly. The girls must have used some editing app. Kids these days. That's Mary, Dad said slowly, turning to her, in a way I hadn't seen since before Mom disappeared. What did you do to my wife? The air in the room changed. The power balance shifted. For the first time, Serena didn't look in control. Robert, you can't possibly believe. I believe we need to continue this conversation at the station. Detective Wilson cut in his voice, calm but firm. He took a step toward the door. In one fast, ugly motion, Serena lunged and grabbed Chloe, yanking her in front of her like a shield. Stay back, she hissed. I am leaving and she's coming with me. Let her go, Dad said, moving forward. Take one more step and you'll regret it. She snapped her mask, completely gone now. The door burst open, and Marcus stumbled in, breathing hard. Serena. There are police cars outside. Someone called it in, he said. Then froze when he saw the scene. Marcus Wilson said, Do not make this worse than it already is. Marcus looked at Serena, gripping my sister, then at the detective, then at Dad's face. You could almost see the calculation happen behind his eyes. It's over, Serena, he said. Finally, voice flat. I'm not going down for this. You traitor. She spat. Marcus turned to Wilson. I'll tell you where Mary Thompson is, he said. She's at Pine Valley Psychiatric Hospital, registered under the name Jane Smith. I falsified the commitment papers. She's been sedated the whole time. Dad let out this sound that was half roar, half sob. While everyone's focus was on Marcus, I slid behind Dad's desk and hit the red fire alarm button on the wall. The alarm screamed to life throughout the house, sprinklers went off in the hallway, and the party outside turned into chaos. In that split second of shock, Serena's grip on Chloe loosened just enough for Dad to lunge forward and pull her away. Within minutes, officers who were outside for the party backup were in the office cuffing Serena and Marcus as they shouted and twisted and tried to blame each other. They were led out past soaking guests, past the ruined decorations, past the Christmas tree that suddenly looked ridiculous. Through the open office door, I saw people staring, whispering, phones out recording. Back in the office with the door closed again, Dad knelt in front of us, tears in his eyes. I am so sorry, he said, voice cracking. I should have listened to you. I should have questioned things. I should have... It's okay, I said quietly. And it was and it wasn't. We found Mom. She's at Pine Valley. We can still get her. Pine Valley Psychiatric Hospital. Detective Wilson repeated already on his radio. I've called ahead. There is a patient there, under the name Jane Smith. Admitted 6 months ago. We're going to verify her identity and get her out. He showed Dad an emergency court order on his phone. Judge Parker signed it electronically. He said if Jane Smith is Mary Thompson, they have to release her to you. So yeah, we left our own Christmas Eve party in the back of a detective's car, while our stepmother and her brother were driven away in the back of others' lights flashing, neighbors staring. We drove through the snow in silence for a long time, Chloe leaning against me, Dad in the front seat, looking like he was about to shatter. What if she's not there? He whispered at one point. What if he lied? The hospital confirmed they have a Jane Smith admitted 6 months ago. Wilson answered the timing matches, Robert. We're going to check. The sign for Pine Valley Psychiatric Hospital appeared in the headlights around 11:30 p.m. A dark brick building with a tall fence, only a few windows lit, no decorations. For a place full of people, it felt weirdly empty. Inside, under harsh fluorescent lights, a bored night administrator tried to turn us away until Wilson slid the court order across her desk and mentioned obstruction and accessory. That changed her tune. She called the on-call doctor, a man named Dr. Chen, who listened to the story with growing concern. Jane Smith was admitted 6 months ago, he said, flipping through a file. Diagnosed with delusional disorder by a Dr. Blackwood, Marcus' dad said, jaw clenched. If those credentials were fake, that is extremely serious. Dr. Chen said slowly. She has been medicated pretty heavily based on those orders. We followed him down a long hallway, walls painted a pale green that didn't make anything feel better, doors numbered in neat order. My heart hammered harder with every step. Room 216, he said, stopping at a door. She may be confused, disoriented. The medication levels have been high. Just open the door, Dad said, voice cracking. He did. The room was small. One bed, a chair, a small window with bars. A woman sat on the edge of the bed, hair dull and thin, face pale, staring at nothing. For a second, I didn't recognize her. Then she turned her head when she heard Dr. Chen's voice, and I saw her eyes. Mom, I whispered. It took a moment for her focus to sharpen, like she had to swim up through something thick. But then recognition sparked. Her eyes widened, filled with tears. My Christmas miracles, she croaked, her voice rough from disuse. Her arms opened, trembling, and we ran to her carefully like she was made of glass and steel at the same time. She smelled like antiseptic, and something underneath that was just her. How did you find me? She whispered, hugging us as tight as her weak arms could. How are you here? Dad was in the doorway, his hand over his mouth. Mary, he said, stepping in. I'm so sorry, I thought you left us. I thought that note was from you. I should have known, I should have. She looked at him, confusion and pain in her eyes. Serena said you wanted a divorce. She murmured. She showed me papers. Then she put something in my tea. I woke up here and they told me I was crazy. Dr. Cha checked her chart, shook his head at the dosages, started adjusting things. While he did that, we told Mom the broad strokes of what happened. The note, the passport, Serena, the life insurance, the boarding school plans, the phone, the video, the party. You did all that, she said, tears in her eyes, voice stronger every minute. My brave, stubborn girls. By around 3 a.m. Christmas Day, the paperwork was done. They brought a wheelchair for Mom, but she pushed it aside. I'm leaving this place on my feet, she said, wobbling a little, but determined. We walked out as a family into the cold night snow, falling softly, Christmas lights glowing on distant houses. 8 years old today, Mom said. Looking down at us through tears, I missed so much. Best birthday present ever, Chloe said, hugging her waist. When we pulled up to our house again, the yard was full of parked police cars and a couple of news vans already circling. The decorations were soggy, the front steps crowded. Mrs. Jenkins was waiting on the porch, clutching her robe. When she saw Mom, she ran down the steps. Mary, she cried, wrapping her arms around her. I knew you would never leave these children. Thank you for taking care of them, Mom said, her voice breaking. Inside the house was a mess. Half-empty glasses on tables, decorations, drooping puddles from the sprinkler system. It should have felt ruined, but it didn't. It felt cleared out, like there was finally space for something real again. We didn't sleep that morning. Mom sat on the couch with a blanket around her shoulders, refusing to close her eyes. I'm afraid I'll wake up back there, she admitted. Then we're staying up too, Chloe said, settling on one side. I tucked in on the other. We talked, filled in the details, laughed in that shaky way you do after something big. Dad mostly listened, eyes red, occasionally saying I'm sorry like a broken record. News crews called reporters, friends, strangers. The story spread fast. Dad told the media, no comment at first, said we needed privacy. Detective Wilson visited, told us Serena and Marcus were being charged with kidnapping, fraud, attempted murder, unlawful imprisonment, and more. Other police departments started calling, saying our case sounded like unsolved things they had on file. In the weeks that followed, we moved out of that house. Dad sold it. Too many ghosts. We bought a smaller place a few streets over. Mom started treatment to get the drugs fully out of her system and to work through the trauma. Dad took a leave of absence from Morgan Stanley and actually stayed home. Mrs. Jenkins moved in with us. We started a new tradition around the dinner table. Every night we went around and said one thing we were grateful for and one truth we'd learned. I'm grateful for second chances. Dad said one night, eyes wet, and I've learned that what looks perfect on the outside can be rotten all the way through. I'm grateful for Mrs. Jenkins, Chloe said. And I learned that being brave doesn't mean you're not scared. It means you do the right thing even while you're shaking. I'm grateful for my twin, I said. And I learned that sometimes the quiet one in the room is the one catching all the important stuff. I'm grateful for my daughter's stubborn hearts, Mom said softly. And I've learned that love is stronger than any lie. But only if you're willing to see the truth, even when it hurts. We could have stayed quiet after that, just healed in private. But Mom had a different idea. We survived this, she said one day. And a lot of people don't. We have to do something with that. So with help from some of Dad's colleagues, who really did care, she started the Mary Thompson Foundation for Family Protection to help families targeted by people like Serena, especially when mental health systems get weaponized. Chloe and I started a little channel called Twin Detectives. We sat at our kitchen table with a cheap camera and told our story, in our own words. The messy kid version, not the polished news version. Sometimes adults don't believe you, I said in one of our first videos. That doesn't automatically mean you're wrong. If something feels off, pay attention to that feeling. Write things down. Talk to someone safe. You're not crazy just because everyone else wants you to shut up. Messages started coming in. Kids talking about weird situations with step-parents, relatives, teachers, parents, writing about gut feelings they'd been ignoring. Some people praised us. Some people said Dad should have lost custody forever for being so blind. Some people said Mom should have left him no second chances. Some people accused us of exaggerating. Do you think Dad deserves a second chance after what happened? Or do you think trusting Serena that blindly is unforgivable? I honestly want to know. We met other victims too. One woman, Lisa Martinez, came to the foundation office with a photo. Her husband, a restaurant owner, had left her and then died in a boating accident a few months later, leaving everything to his new wife, a woman calling herself Sarah Blake. It was Serena in different hair and makeup. Our case helped reopen hers. By the time Serena and Marcus went to trial, prosecutors had connected them to multiple families. The courtroom was packed. Chloe and I sat between Mom and Dad, watching Serena walk in an orange jumpsuit, looking nothing like the glamorous woman who once hung her own portraits over our fireplace. She kept her chin up, but her eyes were wild. "She doesn't look scary anymore," Chloe whispered. "She doesn't get to hide behind a perfect outfit." Now I said everyone can see her for who she is. They were convicted on a whole list of charges. They're not getting out anytime soon. That part of the story at least has a solid ending. The rest of it is still in progress. We still go to therapy. We still have nights where thunder sounds too much like alarms or slammed doors. Dad is still rebuilding trust with us and with himself. Mom has days where certain smells or hospital shows on TV make her go quiet. And us, we're older now, and we haven't stopped paying attention. Here's the part I want you to really think about. Our story is dramatic. Sure, it sounds like a movie, but underneath all that, it's about something uncomfortable. How easy it was to make the world believe our mom abandoned us. How fast people accepted that a man with money moved on. How nobody double-checked a psychiatric commitment paperwork signed by some fake doctor with the right last name. It's about how fast grown-ups dismissed two little girls who kept saying something is wrong because it was easier to assume we were acting out. So I'm going to throw this back to you. If a kid in your life, your own child, your niece, your neighbor, a student, came to you and said, "This new person in our house feels wrong. I feel scared. I see things you don't see," would you actually dig into it, even if it meant messing up the pretty picture on the outside? Or would you tell them to be polite and patient until the damage is done? Do you think kids should ever be believed over a charming adult? Or is that too dangerous of a concept for you? Because that's what this really comes down to. Who gets believed, and how many warning signs we're willing to ignore in the name of comfort. For us, telling this story is part of healing, but it also opens up a lot of messy questions. Should Mom have stayed with Dad after he was that blind? Or should she have walked away and started over somewhere else? Should the hospital staff who rubber-stamped our mom's commitment face charges too? Or were they just doing their jobs with bad information? How much responsibility do systems have when they're so easy to manipulate? If it were you sitting in that courtroom watching your own father testify about how he never questioned the note, never double-checked the passport, never dug deeper, what would you have wished the judge to do with him? What feels fair to you, honestly? I've told you our side, through the eyes of the kid who wrote everything down, who watched the adults fail, who pushed anyway. Now I want to hear yours, if you watched all the way to the end. First of all, thank you for sticking with our story. Do me a favor, drop a comment and tell me what you think. If it were you, what would you have done differently? Who do you blame the most? And have you ever had a moment where your gut told you something was wrong and nobody listened? Make sure to like this video if it made you feel anything at all. Hit subscribe if you want more real stories like this. And share it with someone who needs a reminder that kids are not blind, and sometimes the smallest voices are the ones telling the biggest truths.